Hey, Connie.
Good morning, Dan.
Good
Thank
morning.
you for taking my call and for your advice and information on stock because I wish I'd known it 10 years ago.
Oh, thank you.
I have a question about how to take profits on stocks and donate them into like a donor advised fund the same day so I can, basically not have all the taxes and be able to donate that money later because I'm sitting here saying this is silly to donate money and then have that money be taxed and not to donate out of that instead.
The donor advised fund question is a great question, Connie. So, yes, you can do that very, very easily. So the first thing you have to do is establish the donor advised fund. And you can do that. I would be very careful of where you do it. The AFA Foundation will establish that for you. The reason I say I'll be very careful about how you're doing, let me just explain the details or some of the principles of a donor advised fund. You give to the Connie from Indiana Family Donor Advised Fund. You set this up and you give to that fund. And for that, if you give $100, you get a $100 charitable deduction. And then at some point in time, you advise in this case, it would be the AFA Foundation. You advise the foundation where you would like that money to go to. Now, for all the years, and I would say it's been 10 years, maybe 12, maybe it's probably more than that. I lose track of time. But for the years that I've been managing a number of donor advised funds, when you make a request, it's always, I only have one situation that where somebody made a suggestion for giving and we didn't do it. And that was because it was a Planned Parenthood related organization. And we were not going to write that check. So that was the only time. But when you go to a big donor advised company, a Fidelity, a Vanguard, or whatever, they give to Planned Parenthood. They give to United Way. They give to other things that give to Planned Parenthoods and other things. They give to some of the liberal cultural warriors, so to speak. They give to those. And you don't have any control over that. Now, technically, you don't have any control over any of it because it's an advisory fund. In other words, you get to make a suggestion as to where you want money to go to. 90% of them do, but some of them, all the big ones, withhold some of the money by way of fees and other things to give to the causes that they want to give to. It's part of the deal. Now, the IRS says that you don't have, see, if you're to have any discretion over where the money goes, then it's not going to be tax deductible. It has to be a gift. So since it's a gift, even though the donor advised fund is your donor advised fund, it's basically a gift to a nonprofit or to a ministry, and you don't have any control over that. You're not supposed to. So as long as it gives that appearance and it looks as though, and you technically don't, by way of contract, have control over it, you get the deduction. Now, once the account is set up, all you do is you take these stocks, and you've got this ExxonMobil stock and this XYZ stock and this ABC stock. You transfer it. You call wherever that is, and you will get a set of numbers, electronic transfer numbers, and that stock gets directly transferred. You don't cash it in. That's very, very important. It gets directly transferred to your donor advised fund. Once the stock gets to your donor advised funds, then the donor advised fund sells it, doesn't have to pay any capital gains tax on that stock, and then that becomes cash, obviously, and you're able to do your giving from it. So it's just a simple transfer, and everybody's familiar with it. So if you're with a Charles Schwab or an E-Trade or one of those brokerage houses, you just write a little note to them. I would like to gift to the Connie from Indiana Donor Advised Fund and these shares of stock, 10 shares of this, 20 shares of this, so on and so forth. And then they'll make that direct transfer. Then the Donor Advised Fund sells it. Then you can do your giving. Does that make sense?
It does, except my one question is, okay, suppose I sell a stock, and I normally sell things market order.
Yes.
So I'm sitting here saying, okay, if now the market's down a little bit now, or it's up now and it's possibly going back down, how fast is that other sale from this fund happening?
It depends on how quick your brokerage is in their transfer. It can be very fast, or it can take a couple days. It's totally, they have no... there's no set guidelines as to when they're going to make that transfer. Now, once the transfer comes in, it'll immediately be sold that moment. But you're kind of at the mercy, unfortunately, of them. Now, I mean, if you get on them and you keep riding them, you know, they'll get it done. But it's not usually, no brokerage fund, it's never a priority to send money out. You know, of what they're managing or what they have on the books. They're not in any hurry to do that. So you kind of have to get on them a little bit. So you are going to lose, you know, you could lose it 2 or 3 days, maybe longer. I mean, you could lose. It's usually longer with mutual funds than it is with individual stocks, but nevertheless, you could lose some time. But it'll never be on the receiving end, because the organization that's sending it, they're the ones that have to initiate it. So, yeah, that is a downside. I see what you're saying, you know, because by the time it gets to the place of being sold, it could be, you know, down considerably, you know, than it was.
Then do they send you back information so you know what it went for?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll know immediately what it sold for. If it's the case of the foundation, you'll probably get a phone call, and they'll say, you know, hey, we just sold that stock for $82.37, and you'll know that's how much you have in your donor advised funds. Donor advised funds, traditionally, all of them charge a management fee for the writing of the checks and doing the tax filings and those kinds of things, but it's, you know, it's pretty insignificant. Well, I mean, you know, I shouldn't say that about everybody's, but some of them are more expensive than others. So that's how that works. It's a great tool. It's an incredible tool. I'll tell you what it's really a good tool for, and I say this to all the listeners. Man, if you want to teach your family the principles of giving, start a donor advised fund. Every Thanksgiving, we have Thanksgiving coming up, sit around the table, and you let everybody give their input. Where would you like some of this money to go? And it's a great family thing to do. And any family member, my son-in-law can write a check to my donor advised fund and get a charitable deduction, just like you would write a check to anybody. So your family members can participate in giving to the family donor advised fund. It's an incredible tool. And it was a great piece of legislation that came out of the Clinton administration that has worked really well for some planning kinds of things. Great question. Thank you, Connie.